Thank you for joining us. We're going to do a little ASMR.
Tell the witch's truth.
What is happening right now?
This is what happens when you have no idea how to market a show.
I'm going to defile the carpet.
The bottom line is they tricked us, and I'm going to show you how.
Stop that! You're not going into a song while I'm here.
Assuming, for the sake of argument, that the rumors of all the woke activist creatives at Marvel quietly being shown the door are true,
It bloody well better be.
then we're not out of the woods quite just yet, because we've still got stuff in the pipeline to get through, including Captain America Brave New World, or whatever it's called this week, and Agatha All Along. At first I was really kind of baffled, because after the spectacular disaster of The Acolyte, the marketing for Agatha has been nearly identical, right down to blaming the fans for its inevitable failure before it even aired.
What do you think are some misconceptions about Marvel?
Ooh, that's good.
Thank you.
That it's just for like straight white men.
Yeah.
You know, and this moment kind of reminds me of...
Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star. How many people died on that?
Maybe he just had a brain fart.
People have been talking to me online about how Darth Vader is such a bad person. It's very clear, and it's very well established from those actions. But if you can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people, I'm going to get in trouble.
You should just shut up.
It's
You
just
should
like,
shut up. I
but
love
that
you.
is,
You should
but that
shut
is
up.
the beauty.
Oh.
Unlike DC, which is largely populated by godlike characters, Marvel has always been for everyone. Look at the X-Men. It's not just about people with cool, neat powers. It's about people who are ostracized for who they are, shunned from society, hunted, exploited, rejected by even their own families.
Have you tried not being a mutant?
One of Stan Lee's goals was to create a safe space where all were welcome, and to say that it was ever just for straight white men is absolutely asinine. And maybe even a little offensive.
I've always tried to do our stories so that it didn't matter if you were of the white race, the black race, the brown race, or whatever. So social issues I try to get in the background or underlaying a plot, but never to the point of letting it interfere with the story or hitting the reader over the head.
If there's been one question this week on everyone's lips about Agatha, is who was this show made for? The answer is made abundantly obvious in the first half hour of the first episode. Wine moms who like true crime. But the problem is that it wasn't marketed that way. Did they have a real shot at that demographic? Probably not, but they made a worse choice by replicating the marketing of The Acolyte almost beat for beat. First, of course, the traditional fan blaming before the show even airs. They dressed the cast in purple robes for D23 that created a subconscious connection with the Acolyte witches to these witches. They even turned the lesbian dial up to 11, even going as far as to recreate this viral moment from the Acolyte press junket.
I would say arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable.
Calls this the gayest Marvel project. Gayest Marvel project. Gayest project Marvel has ever done.
It better be, because that's what I signed up for.
And people really latched onto Aubrey's comment.
And so did I, to be honest, but we all kind of forgot that Aubrey is a master troll. They tricked us. They tried to replicate the Acolyte buzz, probably out of sheer desperation. They didn't know what to do with this show, hence the ASMR crap from earlier, hoping that this would send the YouTubers like us into a frenzy and do some free marketing for them, enticing people to tune in and watch the shit show, ready to point and laugh like we did with The Acolyte, but hoping to surprise us instead with a decent show. Even Paul Tassi at Forbes, someone who doggedly defended The Acolyte until even he had to agree the show was off the rails, wrote an article forecasting Agatha's doom.
However,
Right, you are Doge. Now granted, we're only a couple of episodes in, but the gay fest we were promised is not here.
Yet.
True, so far. Sure, there have been some little coy references here and there, and a questionable scene of a teenage girl ogling a naked middle-aged woman.
Disney, what are you doing that didn't need to be in there?
But while The Acolyte provided us something to point and laugh at, Agatha's committing an even bigger sin.
Boring.
It's being boring. WandaVision introduced a mystery, and as the show continued to air, showrunner Jacqueline Schaffer was initially thrilled as the fans were sent into a theory-crafting frenzy. But she got a little terrified when one name kept coming up in these theories.
Salt Bay.
Mephisto.
Silly Bint didn't know who he was.
A lot of you might not know who Mephisto is or his relevance to the lore of the Scarlet Witch, but suffice it to say, it'd be like writing a story about Palpatine without knowing who Darth Plagueis is.
You know Filoni told Headland about him.
Schaffer fed the flames even more by claiming that Agatha wanted to kiss Wanda during the final battle in WandaVision.
That picture is as unhinged as that statement.
Right you are, Doge. If you're battling for your very life, things like that are not going to be crossing your mind. Schaffer informed SFX magazine, what got me most excited was right at the end of WandaVision when she finally faces off with Wanda. Does she want to destroy Wanda? Does she want to be best friends with Wanda? Does she want to braid Wanda's hair? Does she want to kiss Wanda? Does she want to go on a rampage with Wanda? Yes to all, and that was fascinating to me.
She's a loony. I wonder what color the sky is in her world.
So right off the bat, you're not hiring the right people for the job. Again. While WandaVision introduced a mystery, what was going on with these sitcom scenarios she kept finding herself in? Agatha attempts to strike the same chord, but the problem is, there's no mystery. An audience should never know more than the character they're watching. That just makes things tiresome and boring really quick.
It's like watching Dora the Explorer.
The show starts out with Agatha trapped in a procedural cop show. This was a huge wasted opportunity. The concept was sound. It was kind of cool, especially in the way that it thematically mirrored WandaVision. But instead of leaning into it and really having fun with the concept, the sequence suffers from the same fate that even the second episode does, that it can't seem to make up its mind what it wants to be. Is it a comedy? Is it serious? There are times characters say things and you sit there wondering, was that supposed to be funny? I don't know. It's in this weird middle space where it's not like a joke falling flat, it's more like you're not sure if it was even intended to be a joke in the first place. Eventually, she wakes up from her delusional state and we find that she's been under this spell for 3 years. That part's fine. What's not fine is that the town is still bustling around her. The bulk of the population would have moved the F away. Agatha and Wanda put this town through absolute hell, and they're just gonna keep living their lives there while this time bomb lives down the street? But no, they're still living there, actively telling her lies and feeding the delusion Agatha is trapped in. Did Wanda tell them to do that? Of course not. She was essentially the bad guy in WandaVision, holding Westview hostage in her delusion. They wouldn't listen to her. Agatha should have woken up in an empty town. Any people in her delusions would have been figments as well.
It would have been more truthful and, ironically, made the writer's job easier. This is nonsensical. And Wanda's house was still just a foundation.
And we all kind of realize the foundation's just there for memberberry's sake. But you're right, Doge. If this town was still hopping, someone would have rebuilt on that property in the past 3 years. So now, Agatha has to travel the Witch's Road to recover her powers, all the while being chased by the Salem 7. We have no idea who they are or what their deal is. Another wasted opportunity. Instead of making up shit, why don't you just use the tools already in your toolbox? What about Mordo? This would have been a perfect time to bring him back, considering he vowed to eradicate all magic users and would have been attracted to Westview with all these witchly shenanigans going on.
Why are you doing this? Because I see at long last what's wrong with the world. Too many sorcerers.
Schaffer probably has no clue who Mordo is either.
So on the Rusty scale, or whatever the hell we're going to call this, I put Agatha all along about here, bearing in mind the show's still airing. Some have said that it's worse than The Acolyte. I completely disagree. In fact, I challenge you to list things that are worse than The Acolyte in the comments below.
Good luck with that.
So far, it's not the gay explosion that was promised, which no doubt irritates that chunk of the audience. It's tonally uneven. Everyone who can act does their absolute best with what they've been given to work with. Aubrey Plaza owns the screen every time she's on it, but overall, it's just meh. To be honest, I'm not even entirely sure I'm going to continue watching.
Liar.
Excuse me?
As long as she is in it, you're going to keep watching.
Oh, God. Oh, shut
Rusty
up.
and Aubrey sitting in the tree.
And now we sacrifice all the dark souls that have haunted us for centuries. We extinguish them with one blow. I extinguish you. And I extinguish you, too. Good night.